Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan live from Royal Montreal, and it's already 2-0 USA.
Uh-oh.
And it is on the verge of being 5-0 very quickly. Like, this could effectively be over in the next 45 minutes.
You know how in sports they have, like, a name for, like, a doomsday session? There might have a nickname for, like, Blue when you know what I mean? Like a Blue Thursday or something.
Look at that shot that Thagala just hit. So they're on 18. They're one up, and he just basically got a concession on 18. It's over.
It's Rogering Thursday. That's what it is.
Yes.
A full Rogering.
It's a Rogering out here at Royal Montreal. Now, again, if it ends up 5-0, then tomorrow it's got to be 4-1 international.
That shot from Thigala was outrageous.
That's literally pick up the ball. Like, they're going to take their hats off and be shaking on the fairway.
Yeah, so that's not even going to. That's going to be a fist bump right to the clubhouse.
Right. Tell your caddy to pick it up. We're out of here. We got reservations downtown.
It's hats off right away. Like, that's it.
The gala could be downtown in 45 minutes. So anyway, we'll be tracking what happens the rest of day one here at the President's Cup. But the Americans, they're in a very good spot. Not necessarily surprising. Much like Hazenbro, though. Heavy favorites, Hazenbro. Hazenbro in a very good position the last couple of weeks. Wow. Playing a lot like the Americans, the way we're seeing the board. Right?
Yeah, but you came off. Uh-oh.
O'win Willson is cooking.
There he is, back in Toronto in studio. Luke Wilson, hearing me pump the tires of my own team. I'm sure you would debate me on that.
Imagine you
analysis.
pumping your own tires after we just had the night of our life, like the night of our life, Partsy.
Thank you, Partsy. What is this guy talking
Insane. First, please give me the salute before you get too heavily involved. Thank you, Parts. Let's go.
I mean, I'm listening to this whole Americans President Cup thing, and I'm thinking to myself, this sounds like our Monday night.
Yeah.
And this guy's so delusional, he's going to claim it's him.
It was ugly, I got to be honest. That Jags pick was absolutely outrageous decision. I have to own that
There's been some bad ones, and me and Parts even own up to some of our mistakes. That is the worst one.
Horrendous pick.
Parts agreed. Worst pick of all time while we've been doing this.
By far. But you gotta understand, these guys are throwing darts, Partsy. He's not actually picking anything. They're going in here saying, I'm going to guess because last year the Jags beat them, or 2 years ago in London, complete different circumstance. Stephon Diggs and the team, whole thing. I'm just going to go that way. It's the easy way to go. Meanwhile, they have the stones to call us out on the Commanders.
Partsy, how about this one? You had some inside information that Al's brother's head was telling him to go with Buff, didn't you?
I did. So I would love to get to the bottom of this because I was told from a very, very reliable – I'm not making this up, Hayes. I was told from a very reliable source.
Yeah. That
source might be Al's brother himself. I have a feeling – that Al's bro was a couple drinks deep, was pretty sad because he thought he was, on the hype train that you guys were going to be +1. Now you're back to +3. That'll probably be the closest you get all year. And then basically told me that he egged you on. He wanted you to take Buffalo, and you came over the top and said no.
Well, that's very disappointing to hear.
Behavior.
And listen, I will be addressing that with him.
So who's the Geppetto and who's Pinocchio? That's what I want to know.
Well, that'll be addressed in about 10 minutes.
Eating hay at the Geppetto farm.
Don't you worry. He will be answering for that allegation in about 10 minutes. But you mentioned no Stephon Diggs anymore. And Josh Allen made a comment this week about how great it is to have guys on his team that aren't chasing stats, that don't care who catches
Doesn't care
touchdowns.
who gets a touchdown.
And they spread the ball out a ton, right? I think 6 different receivers have caught touchdowns so far this year. Or maybe that happened on Monday night, actually, the way that they were playing. But what do you make of that? He's trying to – and then he tried to back it up by pretending as if he wasn't talking about Diggs. We all know who he's talking about. But what do you make of Allen saying that publicly and probably how good he feels about where his team is right now?
So, Hayes, I took it as maybe a shot. And there's a lot of ways you can look at this. But to me, I took it a shot more so at Ken Dorsey than Stephon Diggs, because if it's not at Stephon, if it is at Stephon Diggs, to me that's somewhat of an indictment on Josh himself. So he's trying to say that he was going into games like, man, I really got to get Stephon the ball or else he's going to be mad at me. Like, this is the NFL. This isn't Pee-wee football. Mm-hmm. I've never really heard of a guy that's like, I would rather throw the ball to Stephon Diggs or my best player so that the media backs off and we might lose versus, hey, we're going to win and Stephon or whomever might yell at me in the locker room. Like, what? There's no way. And if that is his mindset going in, that just is even more shocking. To me, when I hear him say that, I think a lot of it is the pressure put on the entire offense, meaning OC, et cetera, where it's like, hey, GM or owners, like, we're paying Stephon Diggs X amount of dollars. We traded for him. We want him to get the ball. And now all of a sudden, riddled in the game plan is, you know what, this is back then, I guess this might have been Cole Beasley. Again, I'm talking a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. But for this play, we're going to leave, Stephon in the slot so that he'll be the first read. And I've been a part of offenses that are like that, where there's so much pressure to get a guy a ball that they script somebody in, almost force feed them within the script or the game plan. But the idea that Josh would be coming out on game day like, hey, if I don't get Diggs 8 catches and a tutty, like, I'm going to be uncomfortable in the locker room, so it's worth me sacrificing, how I'm going to play. I find that hard to believe that was his mentality.
Luke, have you been a part of teams where the quarterback and the receivers have had contentious relationships, or is that kind of the norm in the NFL, or is that kind of the outlier?
It's extremely normal, and I would say that most wide receivers, have that kind of relationship with their quarterback and also with their offensive coordinator. You look at every team, and it's like, man, if you're a wide receiver, like, your entire job is dependent on what plays are called and whether the quarterback's going to throw it. And even in that league, how accurately he does throw the football. You can win a go route, and if he leaves it in that league a yard short or 2 yards short, it's an incompletion, and you're jogging back to the huddle. Mm-hmm. So, to a degree, Noodles, I think that every single wideout, including the most dynamic duos, there's always a bit of friction. Now, obviously, the most dynamic duos kind of get over that quickly. But to a degree, I think that position, you have to be a bit of a diva. And that's a good thing. I don't mean that in a bad way. Obviously, you can take that to an extreme and it becomes bad. But if you want to play wide receiver in the NFL, you've got to basically demand the football, be kind of that person in the locker room that is always asking for more, or else you're not going to get it.
And you got to produce when you do that too, right? Like, that's another part of it. Like, if you're yelling and screaming and saying, feed me, feed me, feed me, if you get fed and you puke it up, that's trouble. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of the amazing thing about seeing the best wideouts in the league. Like, even on Monday night, where Jamar Chase has not had a great run, it hasn't been great in terms of the contract talk. He was unreal on Monday. Like, that looked like one of the 3 or 4 best receivers in football on Monday night. And you look at CeeDee Lamb tonight. You look at this kid Malik Neighbors, like, for the Giants, and how good he's been, and whether or not he can continue to be a game changer for this team, because he's putting up numbers that are absurd, Luke, early into his career.
Absurd. And to be honest with you, he's in a great spot. Like, you hear people say, hey, what system, what situation, where it's like, if you're Malik Neighbors right now, who else are they going to throw the football to? And also, I don't think the Giants believe that they're going to the Super Bowl this year. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, let's get Malik, 10, 15 targets a game if we can. Mm-hmm. Have him learn as much as he can. Hey, this worked. This didn't work. Take his licks. Right now, he's not taking any because he's the man. But even if he does have a bad game, and now all of a sudden you're coming into year 2, you get a bit of a better roster through free agency, through the draft, and you're like, hey, we've got this guy who, yes, he's only played 1 year, but the amount of in-game reps and targets he had, it's really like he's played 2.5. Mm-hmm. But, and the next thing that gets a bit strange, and going back to Noodle's question with regards to quarterbacks and receivers is, there's 2 different schools of thought when it comes to how to, attack a defense. And I think what the Bills have going on right now, which Josh Allen seems to be very comfortable doing, is they're going to line up, they're going to run their plays, and they want Josh to go through, read the defense, hey, this should be open, or this is a good matchup based on the coverage that's playing and the routes we have. Where there'll be other teams, I think of, let's go back a little bit, but we can remember the Sean Payton days when he was in New Orleans. And again, this is dating myself a bit, but when they had Jimmy Graham, a young Jimmy Graham, they had Sproles on third down out of the backfield. I believe it was Colston was their kind of over-the-top guy, and Lance Moore was their slot. That offense, you would have seen a ton of motions because Drew Brees and Sean Payton wanted to basically script matchups, meaning, hey, we're going to have Jimmy line up as a receiver out here. and we think he's a shorter corner. We're going to have him run this route. You're going to be accurate as heck. Throw this ball here. Okay, we're going to have Lance Moore, we're going to line him up here. We're going to shift over this way, and now he's on a bit of a stiffer nickel back, and Lance Moore was unbelievable underneath. Okay, we've hit all these. Now we're going to get Sproles to line up, again, based on formation, shifting. That's how complex it would get to be on a linebacker, and you're taking that matchup all day. And you had a quarterback in Drew Brees that liked that style and executed it, where some QBs would rather be like, hey, let's line up. Yeah, there's motions and shifts. But I'd rather sit here, have faith in all four guys, and just pick everybody to kind of do their job. You almost want, and I think the Bills have this, a jack of all trades, master of none style of skill position, if that makes sense.
That's what it looks like through a few weeks. With Luke Wilson ahead of Week 4 tonight, Cowboys in New York. Is this a must-win?
I don't think so. I know everyone's
Dallas?
saying that. I saw Dan Orlovsky say that today, but this is where I'm at with this, Hayes. It's obviously going to be a brutal loss if they lose. I think they should win this game. But when you can't stop the run, you never know. Like, it would not shock me if the Giants won. But I look at it, and it's like, okay, Dak Prescott, I believe, is leading the league in pass yards per game. And, yes, you could say, well, they've been down 100 the last couple games, and that's why. But to me, Dak's looked good. CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 receiver. Some people might put him 1, but he's in everybody's top 5. They got some issues at running back right now, but I think that's been exaggerated mainly because they've been down by so much. They're not using the running back committee. So really, if they stop the run eventually, which I don't know if they have to go into free agency, get somebody off the couch, change their defense, whatever, this is a very good offense. And why I don't think the season's over is you look at this division, I don't think the Giants are going to run the table. The Commanders look great. Shout out to Jane Daniels. Shout out to my guy, Partsy Dan Quinn.
Yes.
What an unbelievable job they did Monday.
Hat backwards, and what a game.
I told you, man.
What a hat backwards
Shout
game
out Larry
plan.
Izzo, pride of the Rice Owls, special teams coach there, but we'll leave that there. But it's like that's not a team I don't think anyone expects to also run the table. And the Eagles right now are Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So am I going to sit here and say that if they lost the Giants tonight, it would be devastating? Yes, absolutely. But in the same breath, do I think that we're packing in the season saying, hey, we're done? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the division and the fact that I'm not sure there is a pace car. I mean, I guess Philly, if they're 2-1 and they're going into a week where they know Dallas is 1-3, but there does seem to be enough runway to get back into the division, to get back into the race, and maybe 10 wins this division. And that's not impossible if you're 1-3. But it does put you in a bad spot, and what it will do is isolate the issues that you have continued to have. Like you keep talking about it, everyone's talking about it, their run defense. And on a short week on the road, that's tough to rectify in 4 days. Like, how do you rectify something that is poisonous? And that's what it's been, basically the whole year, certainly the last
Hayes,
2 weeks.
You said it.
I don't know how you do that in 3
on
days.
A short week, too. At this point, I think that if I am Mike Zimmer, which I'm not, but if I am, I'm going to simplify this game plan as much as I can, load up the box, give us as much help as we can on this run game, and then basically double or bracket Malik Neighbors and try and make Daniel Jones beat you with, is it Wan'Dale Robinson, the young tight end out of Windsor, Ontario, Theo Johnson, who I think is going to be great in this league. But, he's a rookie right now. Have those two guys, Slayton, that would be how I would approach it if I'm Zimmer. But I would have approached that similarly last week, and they got gashed for 274 on the ground. Now, last week was a different animal in their run game. Obviously, with Lamar and Derrick Henry, Daniel Jones, this offensive line, and Singletary are not the Baltimore Ravens run game. So, but I would argue at this point, I know it's not what everybody says, but I don't think that the Saints have that elite of a run game either. They played the Panthers and yet they torched them. Them, and then the next week they get absolutely shut down by an Eagles team, which is, again, very hit or miss. So it would not surprise me if the Giants come out here and run for 150 tonight.
All right. Well, with that in mind,
I can't wait. Partsy, I've been waiting for this since Monday. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. Get your popcorn ready.
There he is. Look at him. Look at him with the tree behind him. Let's begin with the accusations, which I don't believe for a second.
The tree and the magic bullet blender. I love the combo, and it's elite.
It's a phenomenal background. It's
Take
a
back
winning
your dignity.
background.
Say what you
Go
said
ahead.
to me.
Okay, so let me clear the air. I did not necessarily say that I was throwing Hayes under the bus here.
Uh-oh.
What I do want to say, and I will take full responsibility on the pick, because here is what I was getting at. Okay, Brian, what works for Team Hayes and Bro is the TG mantra: tremendous information plus gut instinct. I did not.
So
provide.
you're saying you had some information and you went with his gut
That is
instinct.
pretty much what happened. It's not even that I didn't end up presenting the information. I think that's where we went wrong. I didn't present the information of the Buffalo Bills having the best, pass rush win rates in the NFL, having one of the best offensively win rates in the NFL, that they were going to bully the Jacksonville Jaguars. I didn't bring that information to the table, and that's on me. I apologize for that, Hazy B. That will not happen again. Any information that I gather will be presented prior to making picks, but I will take that one on me, and I apologize, Partsy.
I appreciate that, pal. That's why you're a great partner, and that's why I love you, and I won't turn my back on you, regardless of what these two guys are trying to create here.
Hold on a second here.
It's
I think
greasy
he's
behavior.
What he's doing is he's backtracking a little bit, because it sounds like Luke
I
got the
mean, can I
goods
read
on
it,
him.
Noodles? You mind?
Yeah, if you want to read it,
This is wild
and
stuff,
throw him
man.
right
Just
under the
read
bus.
little
Real
snippets
snippets
of it, please. We
all
don't
it says,
want to
I didn't even
context-free.
ask. I said, it's tough to watch. And he said, my info wanted me to take the Bills. LOL. Okay.
My info
and I
wanted
said,
me to take
I
the
responded
Bills.
with,
LOL.
That is a greasy mess.
That's
I'm in
putting
your
me in a
head.
blender,
That
Alex
PFF
Brother.
garbage chat has you in a blender. And he says, and I quote, you wish.
Hang on.
I
This part-
humored Hayes' lean. LOL. That's what I've got here. The text
that-
That's harsh.
I will admit, that was said,
heartbreaking.
but that was me.
brother.
I was trying
That
to
was
make sure that
said.
Luke wasn't in my head. So I kind of just said that to say that. That's not how I feel, Hazy B. It's not how I feel. I was trying
I'm
to
not
fight
sure
back.
how I should interpret this. Okay.
That's like getting caught, say a girl at school said you were ugly and you confronted her and she said, no, I didn't mean it like that.
Right,
Which
sure.
has happened to both of you at some particular point in the class.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That I got to be honest, House brother. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
hurting.
it was.
That
I thought
hurts.
these guys, that actually
It
genuinely is
stings.
hurtful, and I'm in Montreal.
Yeah.
And it's hurtful, and I didn't think anything could put me in a bad mood when I'm
Yeah.
in the Bell Province. But here I am, and I'm backpedaling, and I got to go outside of this. I can't listen to these two idiots because they're going to try to screw this up. Noodles, you're objective. You're
I am.
an
I'm in the
outsider when it
middle. I
comes
am.
to
Yeah.
these two prestigious teams. How should I be reacting to that information? Because
You know
that
what?
is harsh
It ju-
from a partner.
Listen, here's the problem. You guys have had a rocky start.
Yes.
You send him to the minors or
The
whatever you
ayahuasca
did.
retreat,
the ayahuasca
which was a
retreat.
great success, and I made sure to keep the spirit of Al's brother
But
alive in week 2.
You were faithful to him. You actually stood by him
I did. That's right.
while he was driving through every ditch and hitting every sign, and you found a way to get him back. And then what
One
he does,
bad pick and
one
right
bad
under
pick,
the bus.
and it's under the bus, and maybe a backup over top of the body
There's
too.
only one way to handle this. There's a big boardroom upstairs right beside Nicole Anderson's office, and you go in there and you say, phone on the table. I need to see it.
You
Mike
think I need to review
Babcock?
the whole
I
file?
think you need to go through
Well,
Al's
Mike
brother's
Babcock.
phone.
I
and
need to
see
Mike
what he's-
Babcock this guy?
So I
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know
going
what?
to Mike Babcock. Do you want to
Maybe
look at it?
take him in the backyard and say, you know what? Plug the phone into the TV. I want to see what's on that.
I
baby."
want a full review of that phone.
Which
when
is
I go
fair.
home.
I mean, Luke
I'll
can-
say this, and I
he
believe
could take a picture of the conversation.
And
Yeah.
if Luke continued, there was a statement that said, to be fair, I wasn't heavy on the Bills, but I did like the Bills, and the intel said that. So
and-
to be fair,
And that
To
is
be fair.
valid. That is valid. And this is what is disappointing is I have been forthright since Monday night saying I was the one pushing the gut instinct more
Right.
to take the Jags because of the scenario.
Anyway,
I was pushing it.
Give me
But
the
here we
goods
are.
on tonight.
They're in
Give me the goods on
shambles.
the
Bring
night.
in
Well,
someone else.
Al's
You guys
brother-
got to win this. This is
Al's-
a must win.
Listen,
must
Al's
win.
brother, this is a big moment. This is a big moment for us. And like prior to Monday night, there was a lot of positivity. There were a lot of people that wanted to be in business with us. And Monday night was tough, and now the relationship is crumbling a little bit. It's really on thin ice.
You might need
you caught him with a side piece. Is what happened.
I did. That's exactly what happened.
Are you even going to ask?
I go to Montreal for a few days, and this guy's finds someone else.
Brother. But what's your information on the? What's your information on the game?
They need couples counseling. That's what it is.
And it starts with a win tonight. Cowboys laying 5.5 on FanDuel. Al's brother, my estranged Al's brother, please.
Yeah, winning heals all. Let's all just remember that. Winning heals all wounds. I'm going to lay some tremendous information, Hazy B, and then you can let me know with your gut instinct, once it's married, what we should do here, okay? Yeah. But I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys laying the points here, okay? They have brutalized the Giants over the course of the Dak Prescott era. They've won 9 of the last 10 meetings here with a 70% cover rate. They've won 6 straight games against the Giants by a touchdown or more, including last year. They went 2-0 against the spread and beat this New York team 89-17. Dak Prescott 12-2 against this team career-wise with a QB rating of 127 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. And look, I think that this team is better than they've shown. I think that they'll be able to get out to an early lead, and they will not be able to run the football because they're going to have to pass it. The New York Giants I'm referring to. So I think that they're going to struggle.
Take them out, bro.
I think the boys are going to blow them out.
You're calling a Cowboys win big tonight. Clearly, if they're laying 5.5, I mean, they have to win big.
It doesn't matter what he's saying. Are you agreeing with what he's saying?
Well, come on, man.
Listen,
Hayes,
go ahead, Luke.
The Cowboys have beat one team this year who right now is the worst quarterback in the NFL. His name's Deshaun Watson. My Pee Wee LaSalle Lightning quarterback could probably play the position as well as Deshaun's playing right now. Okay.
I would like to acknowledge that the Giants are on the same boat. The Giants have only beat Deshaun Watson.
The Giants are terrible.
You just said that it's been a short week. They can't stop the run.
Parts.
Okay,
just
you're
let
right.
them light themselves on fire. Who cares?
Well,
Forget
listen,
it.
again, Al's brother and I, a few hours ago, I thought we were actually still kind of in a cordial working relationship, but now things have changed, admittedly, with this new information. I was kind of pushing back. Short week on the road within the division. Dallas hasn't been great. 5.5 is a lot of points. That's where I was kind of thinking at that point. But Al's brother, with his tremendous information, admittedly, a few hours ago, made me kind of see the light on where the Cowboys are at. I do think they're a better team than New York, and I do think they win tonight. And generally speaking, in gambling, that's where you have to start. Who do you actually think is going to win? Yeah. And then it can be a cover, and maybe it's a greasy backdoor. But Dallas has got to get this tonight. They've got to perform.
That's not the question.
They have to have some pride. I understand that, but I'm getting to it where I've come around to the idea of taking the Dallas Cowboys tonight. We will.
That's like Al's brother saying, "I'll never do it again, Hazy B," and you said, "Come on in."
I know.
Come on in.
I'm welcoming him right back in.
Never.
I'm
trying to help.
I'm
trying to help. There's a potential the Cowboys do win and make the cover. I do think they'll win. I agree with everything you said there. But you guys got to start making sound, fundamental football picks, and then if something crazy happens, you take the L. This is you guys are just you're flipping a dice right now. You cannot say football-wise you don't think the Giants will cover.
5.5 at home, short week within the division.
Cowboys and Malik Neighbors looks incredible. Daniel, here's the next thing I'm going to put on your plate here. Let's say, how do we stop the run? You got to stop the run. Okay, maybe Al's broken to his notebook.
Who's running
Devin
for the Giants?
Singletary's a good back. The next thing,
but he's been awful
timeout.
this year.
The next thing, what's going to happen here? Okay, you're going to sit here and try and bracket Malik Neighbors. So do you play too high if you're Mike Zimmer? So now you take a guy out of the box?
Mike Zimmer, your boy? You're doubting your
boy?
My boy
is Vic Fangio and Kirk Cousins. My third boy is Spags. We all know that. We all know that. And then my fourth is Dan Quinn. Okay, this guy's not even the top 5. But here's my question. Daniel Jones can still run. I'm not saying they're going to have 10 design runs, but you don't think that Brian Daboll's going to be like, yo, we need a win here, man. Okay, we're going to add an extra blocker. We're going to now have Daniel Jones run the ball, again, 3 times I'm talking about. These guys are going to gash him. This game will be close. It's a division game on a Thursday. Hayes, make the right pick.
I hear you.
No,
we're on the Cowboys.
It's been a divisional game for six straight meetings,
Trends
and they won by a touchdown
Every
or more.
year is individual the year before.
I get that.
Okay.
I I got a bad feeling about Dallas. This might be just a year where things don't go well for them.
It absolutely could
like,
be.
I don't know. Like, the body language watching them, they've just been cleaned out. Dak, something's weird with Dak. Maybe he's got the cash and he's struggling, maybe trying too hard with it. I don't know. Something's weird for me with the
I agree.
Cowboys.
I agree with that because, again, you lose last week, and the first thing you say on the cameras is jump off the bandwagon now. I'm like, this is the...
That's a dummy.
Exactly. That's an insecure comment.
That's exactly.
That's
I'm like, man,
yes.
every time we lost a game in Seattle, the last thing I was thinking about coming down the tunnel was, man, people are going to jump off our bandwagon.
Yes. And I'm going to announce that. Yeah. Go ahead and do it. What
I
kind
don't
of
know.
loser does that?
I was wondering.
It's a heroic move, but it's a loser that covers 5.5.
You know, I played a lot of baseball as a kid, and we had such thing as a mercy rule. Is there any way we can install a mercy rule for the season in this competition?
No. I mean, that's
not going to happen.
If we get a
plus 10, if we get a plus, it might be 8. Oh,
you're not going up plus
that.
10. That's not going to. Although I will say, if this relationship goes awry, anything's possible. Like. Yeah. Al's brother's Ernie Els right now, and I'm Mike Weir. And we're in a bind.
You are nose to nose on the putting green right now, wanting to sucker each other.
We are not happy with the way things are going.
I'll say this. This, Hayes. I mean, I think if we get tonight's game wrong by backing the better team, which we both believe that the Cowboys are the better team, and Danny Dimes comes back and they backdoor cover this thing, I will feel better with myself taking the Cowboys than if we did what happened on Monday, where we both believed the Bills are the better team, but we thought, you know what, the Dogs, they could come in, big number, and they get blown out.
Listen
I would rather back the boys.
It would be so Danny Dimes. It would be so Danny Dimes to have like an outing.
I agree.
It would be
1-11 in prime time.
He said that about Kirk Cousins week 1, too, and what did he do? He dominated our guy Vic Fangio in the 2-minute drill. You want to talk about better teams? Cincinnati's better than the Commanders. We got the stones to take the Commanders because we understand the game. We're pro athletes. I'm asking you guys to understand the game. Switch your pick. Switch your pick.
That's all we do.
We understand gambling. We understand gambling. We're on the Cowboys, right? That's what we are. We're
Dimes has been under the gun too. People chirping.
Even Noodles knows. Hayes, everyone knows but you.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. It is what it is. It's locked in. Cowboys laying 5.5 in New York. Al's brother, have that phone ready when I land in Toronto. Have that phone ready. It better be on my desk when I land at Pearson.
All right, sounds good.
Because it will be a full review, and we'll catch you guys on the group chat tonight.
Sure will.
Thank you, boys. There they are. Luke Wilson, Al's brother. Al's brother. Does he have the stones to throw it up? Oh, there he is.
Oh,
there he is, Al's brother. How about that Cowboy?
Got himself a haircut, too.
He looks spectacular.
Looks
we'll
great.
say that. Al's brother looks spectacular. All right, Al's brother.
Cheers.
Lukey.
Take care, boys.
There's Luke Wilson, Al's brother. Hayes and Bro laying the points, 5.5 Dallas tonight.
Are you concerned?
I'm concerned about where the relationship's going to go between me and Al's brother. Knowing that he's sewering me in a separate group chat.
Dude, he's behind your back. That's dirty.
That's greasy because we got the group chat with the four of us where we're all buzzing. And then if he's going off the path, like down a secret path to just him and Luke.
He went into a secret VIP room for you know what.
You know who he
did
is,
with
though?
a lot of cash.
Yes.
He's Monty. He's grin screwing you.
That's precisely what he is. He's Colin Montgomery when we're making a pick. When he goes like this, he's Monty. And then the second I leave, he turns and goes, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I can't believe I just shook this
Can you believe I got to work with this dumbass?
All right, is it 3-0 USA? And there's still 2 matches ongoing right now. But it's not a good start.
Come on, let's get a point before
get a
the
point.
days.
You got to at least saw something off here. Like, you got to saw a couple off. And if you're down 3, that's doable. Tomorrow you try to win 3-2, maybe 3.5, 1.5, something like that, and you're right back in it going into the weekend. There's still a lot of points on the line. But the Americans did exactly what they've been doing for a long time. Just showed up, hit great shots, made big putts.
Yeah.
Said, see, like they made Thigala putt that out, which you kind of have to on 18. You're down.
Gotta do it.
But he just basically tapped that thing in with his eyes closed.
So did Shoffley.
Yeah. See you later. Thanks for coming out. All right. Hayesy be listing coming up.
Love it.
Hazy's list. The 5 teams that missed the playoffs in the NHL last year that I believe have the best chance of getting back in this year. All right? That's coming up next. All right, Bob Weeks coming up. Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, coming up. Leafs Habs tonight down at Scotiabank Arena, and then Leafs Habs at the Bell Center on Saturday night. So you have to like that.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a fan of both teams, that's a pretty decent road trip. Like if you're in
great.
Toronto, go to the game tonight, come to the Bell Center on Saturday. This place would be electric over the weekend with the President's Cup going on and the Habs here playing the Leafs on Saturday. You cannot beat that.
You think anybody's going all day here right to the Bell Center?
Yep.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Guaranteed that will be happening.
That would be an unbelievable day if you had like a box somewhere here and then just wheeled in a limo down to the game. That is a move.
That's the play.
Yeah, that is.
You show up because they're morning, afternoon on Saturday, right? So they're going out earlier. You get out here on 8, 9 a.m., cruise around the course for 4 or 5 hours, grab a bite, and then fly in and be ready for the afternoon and the game that night.
Problem is
that is lights out.
You got to manage your beverages.
Got to be easy.
You got to manage your beverage.
Yes.
You can't be.
Maybe you go back early, a little siesta in the afternoon, shower up, dinner, game, see where it takes you Saturday night.
I've seen it happen.
It's generally
Our buddy
move.
Strutty got kicked out of the pool in Vegas at 12:30 in the afternoon. He was so oiled.
early.
And probably
12:30 in the afternoon.
was flying that night.
Security was like, "You need to leave. You're that oiled." And then he went and slept all afternoon. At night, he was first star again. That night, I've never seen a guy win 2 first stars in one day.
That is impressive behavior.
Yeah.
That is very impressive behavior. Again, we're live at Royal Montreal, the President's Cup. As of right now, the USA has 3 points in the bank. There's still 2 matches out there, and Cantley and Burns are 2 up, and I think they're on 16 or through 16, so that's at least a half point anyway for the international team. And Clark and Bradley are 1 up on 18, and looks like they're going to get at least a point, maybe at least a half a point at worst, if not a full point. Like this legitimately could be 5-0.
I'm telling
USA
you, it's whatever. It's a
in half an hour.
bloodbath Thursday. It's going to have a name.
Rogering.
It's death.
But
it's just a horrible start for the international
If you have
side.
a terrible start, but can you make a case for them to bad day and then somehow claw back, or is it's game over?
These guys are just too good.
They're just
And
too
I
good.
don't know why in this format against the international team, they're far superior and they're just too good. It's not like the players in Europe. Like, do they just want it more in Europe, or what the hell is it?
Well, that's the thing. Like Johnson Wagner said, when you look at the world rankings, like the Europeans bring guys who are on the European tour. You know what I mean? That aren't winning the Masters and the U.S. Open, and those guys show up and compete and play well. I don't get it why the international side just can't get riled up for this. But the Americans do, and the Americans are in a very good spot. In coverage of the President's Cup on OverDrive, brought to you by Subaru Canada. Enjoy fall to the fullest with symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive. Visit your local Subaru dealer to book a test drive today. All right. Hazy B's list.
I can't wait for this.
Okay.
I'm fired up.
So
about it.
16 teams in the running here. 16 teams missed the playoffs in the NHL last year.
Yeah.
These are the 5 that I think have the best chance of making it this year.
I love it.
Okay, at number 5, I have the St. Louis Blues, who actually, after moving off Berube and bringing Bannister in, they had a really good second half.
Yeah.
And you look at their team. I'm looking at Binnington in particular. They should maybe be higher up this list, but I'll get you guys to answer that.
Okay, yeah.
Binnington with international hockey coming this year, international hockey next year. I feel like he's capable of saying, I want that net. I want that net. And they have some talent. Robert Thomas is a really good player.
Very good.
Kairu's a good
Kairu's
player.
nice, yeah.
There's still guys there that can play.
Yeah.
And I think in that division, they have a shot to possibly sneak in.
Those 2 young guys got to play big boy hockey, though. Like
Well,
they're getting paid like that,
Yes.
and now they got to play like that. It's all these young players. They're like, they have 3 good years, and they're like, pay me, and they get paid.
Yes.
And now you got to take your play to a different level, and be the reason that your team is getting to the playoffs. So those 2 players you mentioned, Thomas and Kairu, are massive for the Blues.
Massively important.
They made the moves, the offer sheets. Those guys are nice
That's
players,
another thing.
too.
You got Holloway
You got
there.
Holloway and Broberg, but they've got Buchnevich, who's a nice player. Like,
Yes.
they've got a bunch of nice
Braden
players.
Shen can still play.
But what they need is those young guys to be star players. Binnington, if you actually look at his statistical numbers, he was one of the best goalies in the league second half of the season last year.
Right.
He's a good goaltender. Again, I like the pick. I like the aggressiveness of it. I don't know if they are, but
Okay.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
listen,
pretty
there's
good.
4 teams ahead of them, right?
Yeah,
and again,
exactly.
if I'm doing a list like this, there are a handful of teams immediately that are eliminated that just are not going to be in the mix. So I have
Exactly.
St. Louis at 5. I have the Ottawa Senators at 4. And I might be falling into this trap again, although I was pushing back last year. And again, I don't know if they got it in them, but I will say this. New coach, new goalie. is imperative.
Yes.
Like Travis Green can have a big impact on the way this team plays and the way they compose themselves starting the year off. And Allmark, who's back on the ice, he's healthy. Yeah, it was a little bit, nicks and bruises, whatever. I think it was fine. But he'll be fine. I mean, the season starts in 2 weeks. Exactly. He's playing tonight. Allmark will be fine.
Yeah.
Allmark in net, Green behind the net, behind the bench, with, again, a talented group. The Josh Norris stuff continues to look bad. Like, he's with the second group today. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't know if he's going to play or if he's going to have an impact.
I hope that gets better because that just doesn't sound good.
He is significant for them. But Pinto is going to be playing the whole season for them. Stützle, Tkachuk, they have talent there. They made some moves on the back end. I've got Ottawa at number 4.
That's it's fair. I think the key word I keep hearing out of people from Ottawa is maturity. At some point, we saw it here in Toronto. The young guys grew up right in front of our eyes here in Toronto, where it was Marner and Nylander. They were 60-point guys, and you could see they're special guys. They're just going to get there. Matthews, same thing. We knew Matthews different level, but point being is, when is Ottawa going to turn the corner to that maturity where it's that consistency night in and night out, and it's not just, hey, we're going to try and win 6-5, and hey, we got all this lip service. You've got to do it. I think they can. I think they could be in that level of pushing for a playoff spot.
Yep.
But everything like you laid out has to fall.
Got to
into
break
place.
their way.
Exactly.
A lot of things have to break their way. I've got Ottawa at number 4. These are the 5 teams that missed the Stanley Cup playoffs last year that I believe have the best chance of getting in. St. Louis at 5, Ottawa at 4. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins at 3. Pittsburgh at 3.
I thought before you said aging group, you don't see much of a different chance of getting in.
Listen, I don't.
Love Sid, though.
I love Sid. Sid is my guy. I do wonder what he's going to look like without Gensel on the wing. I mean, that is different. He does not have Jake Gensel this year.
Yeah.
And Gensel, he started the year with Gensel. He's played with Gensel on his line for years, and they have been electric, and that is significant. And, again, they bring in Kevin Hayes. They didn't make a ton of adjustments over the offseason, but they just missed a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, they still have enough, even though it's an aging talent, to I think, be in the mix.
Yep.
And, again, I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing these teams are going to make it. I'm not suggesting that at all.
No.
But of the options, of the 16 teams that missed, Pittsburgh, for me, is still in the running for punching a ticket and making it.
Here's how I could make a case for that argument. 2 things. Tristan Jarry.
And Sid.
Erik Karlsson.
He's got to be better than he was last year.
Exactly. How about Erik Karlsson shows up and goes, you know what? He doesn't have to get 100 points, but maybe he can be a difference maker back there. Where I don't think they ever got into a groove on who was going to run the power play. It was almost like a battle of wills. It's like Letang or Karlsson. Like, they didn't look comfortable.
But I think it's been 3 years in a row we've said Tristan Jarry's got to be better.
Well, he played well, but he hasn't been consistent. And that is the biggest challenge. I think he's a really good goaltender, but there has to be a time where, when you're a good goaltender, you have to have a season where it's like, yeah, that guy's having a season. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important for him to have a season.
Okay, at number 2, this one might surprise you. I have the Seattle Kraken.
Oh.
I have the Kraken at 2. All right, they have Dan Bylsma there, speaking of Pittsburgh. Right, he's come in as their new head coach. They bring in Stevenson. I actually like their lineup. Beniers had a really poor year last year. Like he did. He won, I think he was Rookie of the Year the year before. Yeah. He had a really good start last year. He just did not put up good numbers.
Big time important piece for them.
I think he's way better than the way he played last year. I think he's closer to year 1. I think he steps up here. They McCann can play. They bring in Stevenson. I think they overpaid Stevenson, but I like him. He's a good player that can skate. He can help up the middle of the ice. Still have Yanni Gourde there. Like I think they have some depth up front, and then Grubauer is hit or miss in that.
Well, he was injured last year.
And that's the thing. Like,
Joey Decord pushed through and was kind of like their guy.
2 years ago, they were a 101-point team, I believe it was, and made the playoffs.
But they kind of, look at that division. Now, again, same thing, that division, whether there's really good teams and there's really weaker teams.
And they signed Montour, too. I want to point that out.
Well, that's a
Brandon
big move.
Montour is a big signing for them as well.
That's a big move on the back end. Where their D is, you've got Vince Dunn, who was kind of like their point getter.
Yes.
You've got a guy like
Larson,
Brandon Montour.
Bring in Montour. That's a pretty good 1-2-3.
I think they'll be fine. When it's all said and done,
you guys can react.
It's not my favorite pick, but I think I can make a case for it.
Okay, got Seattle at 2, and then number 1, I have the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils, they're the obvious
slam dunk, especially with the goaltending addition.
Yes.
Top 50 Dougie back in the rotation.
Top 50 Dougie's very important. You bring in Markstrom.
And by the way, top 50
Josh
Dougie's got to play like top 50 Dougie. Like he's got to.
He usually does, though. He's pretty good.
No, I know,
his
but
numbers
do you
are
know what
good.
I mean? Instead of being
getting
point
hurt.
producer Dougie
Yes.
Hamilton, he has got to be. There's a big difference between being point producer guy, and there's another example in the league, and it's Shabbat in Ottawa. He can do more than just point producer Shabbat. He's got to be solid in his own zone. He has to be a big reason of why things are changing in their own zone. Thomas
agree.
Shabbat.
Yes.
He
I
can't be just playing on the end of his stick, trying to make saucer passes, blah, blah, blah. He's got to be physical. He's got to be responsible, and he's got to be a big reason why things change on their own end. Same thing with top 50 Dougie.
Yes, that's accurate.
I think lost in all that, too. Timo Meier wasn't as big of a factor. Scored 40 the year before. It takes sometimes your new environment that first year doesn't hit. Maybe this is where he falls back into like, hey, I'm a hell of a player because he is a good player.
If he's playing with Hughes and Brad, that's a good line.
That's their top line.
That has the potential
Meier,
to be really
Hughes,
good.
and Brad. You got Tatar, Heischer,
And
Mercer.
Heischer's a good player too.
Palat, Holla, Nason.
Rob Pesci, and I think Keefe's a good coach. Like Sheldon Keefe's a really good regular season coach.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't think it's a surprise that I would have New Jersey at 1. Like, of the teams that missed, they've clearly improved.
The 2 defensemen they added, you're getting top 50 Dougie back, but Pesci and Brendan Dillon.
Good player.
So they really shored up some of the things where maybe they were missing. I agree. I think it's a really good
New Jersey's
pick
a
at 1.
slam dunk. So, okay, the 5 teams that I think have the best chance of making the playoffs this year in the NHL that missed last year. To recap, St. Louis at 5, Ottawa at 4, Pittsburgh at 3, Seattle at 2, New Jersey at 1.
I'm surprised you went Pitt, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I thought
I've
it's
been
been a
harsh on
team
them.
where you've said year after year, it's not like they're getting any younger, and they're not, and you still pick them.
I've been harsh on them, but again, like, Sid is a very captivating draw. Like, looking at Sidney Crosby, still driven, still playing well. Again, the last couple of years, they've missed, but they've barely missed. They haven't been a disaster where some of these other teams have to really climb.
I know, dude,
Like,
but these guys are all a year older, so it's like barely missed.
So would you have them out of the 5? And the question is, who would you put in? Would you put Detroit in there? Would you put Minnesota in there?
Buffalo?
Would you put Buffalo in there? Like, that's the question. Like, at some point, like, I don't think Calgary's in the mix. I don't think.
I just have a difficult time with
California teams.
Pittsburgh, not for any other reason that Sid's been so good, but the surrounding cast is getting older. Well, so is Sid. So they're back a year older.
I understand that.
How are they not going to fall short again?
Well, what about Philly? Like, Philly was in a playoff run the whole year and fell off. But I don't think that. I think last year was smoke and mirrors.
I think
with the
that was an
Flyers.
outlier. I think they're more going to be suited to where they should be right now in that retool situation. Did you see today? Was it today that the PA filed that grievance for Ryan Johansson? Because they just made him go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Terminated him for, I think it was reported, something, a breach of contract. So that's
that was
a big
weird.
contract.
That was weird how his contract got
they
tossed
traded
around.
for him and then they just made him go away. And then all of a sudden it's like breach of contract, you're gone. And I think the PA filed a grievance on it. It'd be interesting to see how that shakes out. I don't think Philly's a playoff team. I agree. I can make a case for Pittsburgh. Sid, that they kind of had some under the radar moves. Like, did you know that Anthony Beauvillier's there? I didn't. I kind of forgot about that. Him showing up there. He's a decent player.
Yeah, but there's been kind of bit pieces like
Bunting,
that floating
your
around
guy
for all
Bunting.
those. Obviously, for every team in this situation, whether it's on your list or not, a bunch of things have to go right for anything to be even possible.
Exactly. Outside of Jersey, which, again, it seemed like goaltending, some injuries, the other 4.
I would say, if you're taking Pitt out, I would have thrown Buffalo in there because they're in that same type of wheelhouse mix. I'd say Ottawa. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. I've been digging in on the team a lot, but we just laid out the case of how they could get there. The other guy, too, you mentioned Shabbat. How about Jake Sanderson? He's gotten better. This is a guy that's got to be their number one clear-cut guy. And let's see what Nick Jensen brings to the table. You've got that left-right dynamic.
Chychrun just never fit. It never seemed to work.
It didn't fit for him.
Yep.
And maybe he helps Washington. But
So how many of those teams do you
list.
think get in? You don't even have to say which teams necessarily. You think 2 of those 5 get in?
2 of the 5.
Okay. 2 of the
What
5?
do you think?
Barely.
I think Jersey's going to get in. I think they're going to get in.
You almost give them a bit of a slam dunk.
Beyond that, but then again, it comes down to who's coming out. Pierre LeBrun coming up. Bob Weeks. It's official. It's 5-0 USA.
It's tough, dude. I mean, we talked about the possibility of a 5-0, and it would be disastrous. Like, we talked about 3-2 would be disastrous.
Right. Yeah. The idea of like you're looking at a 5-0 chase now with Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele and Cantlay playing like he's the best player in the world. It's tough sledding, man. It's tough sledding. So we'll set up day 2 with Weeksy in the final hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel, still to come. Bob Weeks coming up. Bobby will try to spin this positively for us. All right? The Americans are up 5-0 after day 1. 5-0. Now, there were no blowouts or anything. It's not like matches were ending 8-7. Like, that is embarrassing. When you're shaking hands on, like, the 12th green, it's really embarrassing in a match play.
Hat off.
Yeah. When you're on 12 and giving a guy a shoulder, hey, and then you're patronizing. Like, you played pretty well, man. It was just a tough day for you.
I had to do it once on the positive, and the most ignorant thing you can do, me and my buddy Shuey did it in an alternate shot, and it was 13. We shook hands, and the guy said, "Do you guys want to play the rest of the round just to play?" And we said, "No, thanks."
See, that is
it's
so
an
greasy.
ignorant move, and it's
so
just
ignorant.
terrible for amateur players. If they recommend saying you want to just play it out and have some fun the last 5 holes, no, we're going home.
I think it's ignorant on the other side if you lose, but it's more understanding. I've been in that side where I've won matches, and the guy is like, "I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Picking my ball up.
I lost. I'm kind of rattled with myself. I didn't play well. I'm not watching you peacock around here so happy."
Anybody has the full right to go home because it's all about
after you lose. But if you win and you're like, "Actually, we're leaving," that's so ignorant.
Dude, we went there on a business trip, and when that was over, wrapped up, it was like, "Thank you very much. Have a great day."
Handshake out.
That is remarkably.
Handshake
No
out
way,
at 12
man.
or what?
On
No
20.
way.
Hey, congratulations, we're leaving.
Great playing, and see you later.
Oh, my God.
All right, final hour coming up. Live from Royal Montreal. President's Cup off and running. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.